They Called Me Queer is a riveting compilation of essays written by South Africans who self-identify as part of the LGBTQIA community. Each essay is an assertion of troubles, triumphs and joys. We chat to one of the book's compilers, Windvogel, now. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So lovely to see you here. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. So what a brilliant idea. They Called Me Queer.
Yes.
Why did you decide to compile it?
I think it was, just in the making. I've always wanted to compile a book of essays of specifically focusing on queer people of color in South Africa. And I think last year in March, I went to the Commission on the Status of Women at the United Nations in New York. And a friend of mine, she was busy compiling a book called She Called Me Women, Nigeria's Women Speak. So it's Nigeria's queer women who spoke their truths, about their story. What is their story as self-identifying queer women? And that just compelled me, to reach out to my people and say, let's compile a book of our stories. Because usually when our stories are included, when we speak about the queer identity, especially for queer people of color, it always revolves around trauma, sad stories, just rejection. And even though these things are a part of our stories, we are multifaceted. We have stories of love, we have stories of joy, we have stories of lust. We are multifaceted, we are complex beings. And I think we wanted to create a book that showcases that to the world and tells our stories in a way that no one else can. Amplify those voices.
The full spectrum of love. Love is love, regardless of how and who or where. But such remarkable quotes here on the back. Like, this is a celebration, this is rage, this is love. The stories are as devastating as they are exhilarating. I see myself in so many of these pages across the entire spectrum. There's nothing as affirming as seeing oneself through the eyes of your siblings. How beautiful, how powerful. I think everybody needs to read it, especially if you don't know how to relate to people who are LGBTQI+.
Yes. This is a story that humanizes us. Now, I hate the word humanize because I don't feel that any person should have to beg at the feet of someone to say, I'm a human, see me, put me in your laws, put me in your policies, put me first. I deserve human rights. And I wish we didn't have to do that. But through this book, I hope that whoever reads it, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a police officer, whether you are a lawyer, whatever, if you have any form of power, or if you at any point have to interact with human beings, whether they are queer, whether they are not, treat us equally. And I hope that this is where people can learn. If you're not part of the community, come to learn. If you are, come to see yourself reflected in these pages.
Sharing kindness and just be kind to whoever you speak to. How did you find your contributors and the writers who pulled together their essays?
Okay, so of course I'm a queer person, and the queer community in South Africa is very small in terms of how we relate to each other.
I thought the community in Cape Town was huge.
No, it is big, but if you go out to certain spaces, the spaces that we occupy, it's not, it's not very. When we go there, we see each other, we're family. It's almost like, Cheers, that song. How does it go? Where everybody knows your name. It's like we know each other, and if we don't know each other, we know of each other and what we do. So it was something of where we just put out the call. We were like, are you interested in writing? Do you know someone else who would like to write? Oh, your story is so interesting. And I think with every book that's going to come out, because we want to make more, definitely. It's going to definitely be a success. I think our processes will change. Maybe we, instead of asking someone to write something, we go out to them and interview them. I think it will depend on how this book is received. But what I really love about this book is the spectrum of voices, the difference in voices, and then also the similarities and how we see that we're not that different from each other, yet we still are.
What's been your favorite passage?
Oh my God, no, you can't do this to me.
Because I'm looking at some of these writers and I'm like, well, some of these are amazing people. They must be, I can't wait to read it.
I think there are different things that I like about each essay. Let me say that. There is a specific essay by someone called Laurie Scott that to me, and I'm not highlighting them as someone above the rest, but I think what they got right with their essay was that they explain queerness and how when you are raised as someone who is queer, And as you are going through your journey of self-identifying and finding who you are, other people already put that label on you before you have found the language to identify yourself, and how dangerous that can be, and how you take that into your adulthood. Because before you know who you are, someone is already vilifying you for being queer, because you are not supposed to be that. And to me, that is just an interesting way of how we project our own insecurities on kids who are queer and who just want to live.
I know.
But then there's this book by, an essay by Haji Muhammad Dawji. She writes about growing up as a Muslim, and how it's just completely different in living in this religious household. So there are so many writers. There are stories about your first love as a queer person, and how you had to hide in the closets and hide your sexual identity and your sexual orientation.
Devastating, that's so sad.
I actually cannot pull a favorite passage, but I can say that the book is very interesting, and you will learn and you'll see yourself, and it's for everybody, really.
Tell me about the cover.
So the journey to getting that cover was, it was a headache, honestly, to get to people to decide on a cover. Let me explain.
It's hard. How do you choose just one?
Because we first wanted to work with some artists where they created some, graphic design, some like art things. And even though that went pretty far, we realized something is off. And one night, because when I start working, I don't sleep. So one night, like 4 a.m., I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? You know, I don't know what we're gonna do. And I thought, wait, there are so many organizations that archive our queer people's stories. So I called up Gala, the Gay and Lesbian Archives, Memory in Action in Johannesburg, and I said to them, can I come through and look at the archives and look at pictures of people that, our elders, our queer elders, I want to see them in here too. So I flew over to Joburg, and I went through the archives and I found this picture of someone called Piper Laurie. Now, the full picture is of her sitting reading a book. And the reason why I wanted the full picture in there was because I was like, queer people are always seen as the party goers. And we're always like, the crazy people drinking, doing all of these things, which, it's part of our culture. But again, we're multifaceted. And I love the way that she was sitting with her eyebrows did, the hair did, everything is perfect. And she's reading this book. Unfortunately, for spacing issues, we couldn't do that. But still, she's a queer icon from District 6 here in Cape Town. She was a hairdresser, as you can see, that hair is perfectly did. And she was also a dancer. So she traveled across Southern Africa for about 10 years. And then she returned to District 6 and went to live in Mitchell's Plain afterwards, when, forced removals, etc. So for me, it was interesting to see myself and to see all of my queer siblings in this queer elder. And I said, I love this picture. Let's collaborate together. Beautiful. And they agreed, and this is what happened.
I wish you the best of luck with this book. Everybody go and read it. Thank you so much for being here. It's always such a pleasure speaking to you.
It's my honor.
Best of luck with this. I think it's going to be huge.